Alrighty, welcome back. If you guys have finished absorbing part number one of this series, I'm going to try to stretch it out into the three parts. Um, I'm trying to keep it very basic. Anyway, if you remember from part one, I told you these boxes are going to be wider at the top and then they are at the bottom. So what I did is I flipped this over and it's laying on its top. So this would be the bottom. And if you look, I drew a plumb line with my right angle from the bottom all the way to the top, and you could see the difference. This box slightly flares at the top. And again, if you're using this, if you're flipping it over and using it for the height of the box, that's fine, because you can flip it over and the bottom, it doesn't kick out enough to really tell, especially when you get all your carving and all your brickwork in. But since I'm using the width as the height, I've got to trim that down so it won't sit off kilter. So, and again, I went ahead and drew the line, and also the thickness of the styrofoam. Sorry, the thickness of the styrofoam. I went ahead because I'm going to cut this center part out. So this is one of the ends. This is the bottom, and this is one of the ends, the short end, because it's long. It's a rectangle. So I'm going to cut the bottom of this out. Again, I'm going to cut each side out because, again, these are going to be my walls. I'm going to stand the box up on its end, and it's going to be the wall. So I'm going to cut this out first, and then I am going to trim this. So I only have this much to trim versus the entire thing. So, and you could cut this styrofoam with pretty much a hacksaw. If you've got a jigsaw. If you've got, a handsaw, I mean, this is fine, because once you mark, and again, I will set this box on its end and use my right angle and get me the perfect line, so when I do cut, I can cut all the way down. And again, you remember, this angles in, so what I did is I just marked it and angled it in. So, and if you notice the light difference, I had to use one of my plugs, because I got a new toy, and I am going to use it. So I know it's overkill, but it gives me a chance to use power tools anyway. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out. And always wear goggles and gloves. There's my safety speech. And the styrofoam, you can just punch it through there. Oh, and keep your hand off the trigger, of course. So punch it through there. Alrighty. Look how thick that foam is. That is some awesome foam. I mean, this one piece will be a garden wall, because I trimmed the this is the top, so you got that lip there, and I just trimmed that down, and you've got a naturally flat piece. So that'll give you a reference to when you do a 90-degree and join this wall in with the rest of the church. So again, I've already done the other end, and I've already trimmed this line on the other end, so it's ready to stand. It actually stands pretty well. And I will take my right angle and check plumb. It is definitely perfectly plumb, because I've trimmed this edge off. And being the top edge of this, you don't have to worry about it. Just only the bottom edge. So I just drew this out too, so I could show you guys. For expedience, I went ahead and did one side. So okay, so you've got basically walls, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this down the center. And since I've already got a natural flat line on two sides, I'm going to use these as the points to add other parts to. And I'm going to, when I cut this, that's where the church is going to be blown out and broken out and everything. So I'm going to definitely cut that out into a rough part. Anyway, but before that, back to the templates. I made me a template for a church window, and this is only half the church window. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add windows, and maybe a door on the other side. So what you want to do is get all your Sharpie work in first. So, and on the corners, you want to do that big brick trim work. So what you do is you lay this down on its side and use the table as a flat point. And again, you can set almost anything. And I used a paint stir stick. I used a big 5-gallon paint. Set it right there. And I ran a Sharpie up and down, and then I set it up and I flipped it over and did the other side, and do all these at the same time. So not only this corner, you're going to do the other corner. You want to do them all at the same time so you won't get you won't miss that or forget what you used. So again, all your trim work first, because this right here is going to stay. You're actually going to shave this part down because this part's going to be thicker and the bigger stones. So, and again, once you get all your Sharpie work on your edges done, you can come back here and you can actually pop back in your, where's my, okay, there's, you can draw you some plumb lines with your right angle, because what you're going to do is you're going to put in, I'm going to put in maybe 2 church windows here. But somewhere in between, I'm going to blow all this out so these corners can fit perpendicular to each other, so you won't have just a U shape, you'll have like maybe a Z shape or something. But I'm going to do 2 windows here and maybe a window on the other side and a part of a door on the other side. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut it and break it and then start my my work. But again, on another note, since I've got my new foam cutter, I'm going to go ahead and draw out the windows and then cut them out, and then take my foam cutter and shave all this down, because I did it by hand with an expandable. That just took me forever, and I do a good job, but it just takes me forever. So this new foam cutter, I can turn 45 minutes worth of work into 5 minutes worth of work. So I can run that foam cutter down this line and actually bevel it where it's actually got a decorative angle to it, because you can bend that hot wire, and it's got a guide plate and all that stuff, so you can just run that guide plate down and on each side of the trim work. And then on the windows, I'm going to recess those and do all the trim work inside the windows. So anyway, so basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this on pause. I'm going to run me pop me a plumb mark there, and then I'm going to draw my Sharpie my windows using my template. And again, this is half the window, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw one half of the window, and I'm going to flip it over and copy the other side, and that'll give me a full-size window. So I think I can probably get 2 in there and maybe 1 on the other side, and that'll give me pretty good tall windows. And again, you've got to make sure that they're even on this and plumb. So I'm going to pause this, and I'm going to Sharpie these out, and we'll get back to cutting. Alrighty, I'm back. I know it seemed like forever. Okay. I went ahead and Sharpied out the windows on here, and I'm going to take this off and carry you guys around with me. But anyway, I got my plumb lines, and I went ahead and used my template. And the template was a little wide, so what I did, instead of doing the trim work on the outside, I went ahead and came inside, and I'm going to do another layer, so the windows are going to be narrow and come to a point. So I figured that would look better. But I used the same template on each window. And then on the side, I'm working on another one. But I've got my corner trim with the bevel. I've got my vertical or horizontal trim with the bevels all marked out. So when I come with my foam cutter, I can get the wire shaped just the way I want it and shave about a 1/2 inch off out of this. So this right here, this area, and the area around the windows will be a 1/2 inch deeper than the trim work. And then the beveling, I'm going to add another layer here. So this is actually going to be the brick facing of the windows, and then it's going to bevel off inside 2 times. So it's going to have a 45-degree bevel, a flat, and another 90-degree bevel. So it's going to be scalloped all the way inside. And then from the back side, I'm going to add in my leaded glass or whatever I decide to add in there. Or maybe nothing. I'm just going to put some pieces and fill the window seals full of brick and debris. So anyway, but all this will be beveled, and it'll be brickwork. And then all in here is going to be shaved down about a 1/2 inch or so, and this will be exposed brick or cut stone. So anyway, but again, the important thing is you've got to get your vertical and horizontal lines set. So again, once you do your trim work, and again, you can lay this on its side and set something and do all your trim work first. So that'll be your baselines, your vertical baselines. And then when you figure out where the windows are going to sit, and there's usually a big decorative outcropping anyway, these windows sit on these big, massive outcroppings, decorative, because there's going to be another element in here anyway, because it's going to be cut brick versus cut stone or flagstone or whatever. So anyway, so that's where we're at now, and I've got all the Sharpie marks done. And again, I'm going to go back in here 2 more times with the black, and then I'm going to do the red, because the red is going to be where I'm going to cut out all the way through the foam. And for both of these windows, the one on the other side, I'm going to do a big door facing that matches this angles up here on this side. So, and again, I'm probably going to cut this right down the center and break out most of this center and use all this after I get it all cut up as debris. So I'm going to do all the brickwork first, and then if I decide to cut it, I'll cut down the center. If not, I'll cut down one side here and make this a big corner and make this one a smaller corner, and join this flat edge over here into this one here. So it depends, but anyway, so right now I've got all the Sharpies, all the Sharpie marks done, all my vertical and horizontal lines. And again, this is the most important thing, because this is where your building starts to come together. So you can already get a feel for it, because if you're not feeling it right now, you need to stop and start over. I'm feeling this. I like the designs. I like the windows. I'm going to do probably some scallop top here, and again, maybe some design work around the windows, glue some design work. Anyway, but this is your basic drawing on your, and the next step is to go ahead and finish up all your Sharpie marks, all your reference marks, and the next step here is actually cut your holes out. And again, at this point, you've got to decide how far you're going to cut. I thought about doing down the center, but since the windows are so close together, and I kind of like that decorative, I might just switch all this out and do a decorative post, a scalloped post with a pedestal on both ends right there, and maybe just go ahead and do a post all the way around. That'll add another churchly feature, and just do columns here, here, and here, and then around the other side. And that'll add an extra detail feature. So anyway, but here's where you decide where you want to cut this out, because basically you've got more than half a box, and this is just too big to put on a display unless you're gonna use it for shows. But I'm probably just gonna go ahead and cut it right there and break it apart right there, and just come across and come around or come all the way down, and then I'll have an entire corner here, and I'll have a workable corner here. So that'll give me 2 separate pieces. So anyway, stay tuned. This is part 2. So part 3, I will have all the Sharpie marks done, and this is where you do all your Sharpie marks, all your reference points, everything you want to do. So when you actually start shaving down the foam, you can adjust as you go, because again, you're going to shave different layers, and that foam cutter I use, you're going to shave, you're going to basically your scallop, and then you're going to be basically this far in. So so you're going to have to measure, and there's already a little line there anyway, so I might use that as a reference line, and that's how deep I'm going to go in. And that's how far the trim is going to protrude out from the actual wall. So you'll have a big corner piece here, a big corner piece here, all big cut stone. You'll have your windows recessed into the brick, and with more features and scalloping going deeper, so you'll have to adjust your cutting that away. But basically all I'm going to use the foam cutter for is just to get all, because basically I'm going to trim this entire box out, and when I do, I'm going to have to redraw these windows in here, because the windows are going to be recessed. So